Good morning. Welcome to our 2022 AI conference. We are very thrilled to be hosting you once again this year. This is our fourth edition, and we're looking forward to very exciting conversations today. We have been trying to democratize this technology pre-COVID, during COVID, and even now towards the end of the tunnel. We're still trying to show or provide insights into what this technology can do for our businesses, for our organizations, and for the society at large. So one thing for sure is that today we're going to gain remarkable insights from our renowned speakers. And we cannot deny it that we are in the midst of a disruption, and every industry, every profession is going to be disrupted. And we want to understand, how do we keep up with the fast changing digital era? How do we prepare ourselves for this inevitable disruption? I was actually reading a piece during the week. Someone posted on LinkedIn saying that, well, we shouldn't focus on creating jobs. Rather, we should focus on developing skills, which I think it resonates with my intuition, because once we are able to create the skills that the economy requires, and we are effectively able to become relevant, then the skills will be able to be absorbed. We will be able to curb unemployment and create the much needed jobs. So we should all embrace these technologies and prepare ourselves, for this inevitable disruption. I've said that several times. Well, for housekeeping rules, there are chat icons on your, I think on your right. You can introduce yourself, tell us where you're coming from. If you want, tell us the industry you represent and what you expect to learn in this conference. You can also use the Q&A panel to pose any questions that you may have during the discussions. Then we will attempt to answer the questions once the presenter is done the presentation, or towards the end. We're going to have some exciting discussions. So we will start with a few presentations, and we will look at things like how we can prepare our mindset. How do we remain relevant? What kind of skills are needed in this digital age? We're going to look at some practical application of this technology, some use cases from a financial services perspective, supply chain, retail, among other industries. We're going to have a panel discussion where we're going to look at strategies. How do we come up with effective AI or digital transformation strategies? So we were in for some exciting stuff today. So, well, without taking much time and boring you with the opening remarks, I will introduce our first speaker, who is going to take us through a very interesting topic. And the person that is going to start or give us the opening speech is Johan Steyn. And Johan is a smart automation and artificial intelligence thought leader and management consultant. He is the chair of the special interest group on AI and robotics with the Institute of Information Technology Professionals, South Africa. and he is a research fellow with the University of Stellenbosch, an adjunct professor with Woksen University. Johan has put together this interesting book where he compiled the articles that he wrote last year about artificial intelligence. I'll share the link, about where you can get his book. Is available for free on his website. So you can download that and learn more about this technology. I hope Johan is able to join me now, and then we get going. See if I'm able to bring Johan live. Just a sec.
Hi, Zanzele, there we go.
Hi, Johan, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. And yourself?
No, I'm okay, great. I'm good, thank you. No complaints. I'm glad you're back. I thought you had disappeared at a very critical time.
No, I couldn't. The platform didn't get access to join until you brought me in. So yeah, I was worried there as well. But thank you for that warm introduction, and yeah, good luck with this event. Some exciting topics, some familiar faces in the delegate list already. So yeah, let me get going then, shall I?
Awesome. Absolutely.
I'm going to share my screen, and then if you can just confirm that it is visible. It should be full screen now, is it?
Yes, all good.
Okay, super. Everyone, thank you for attending this first talk. Hopefully I can set the scene a bit for the rest of the day. I'm definitely going to pop in every now and then and listen to some of the other speakers, and I will be part of the panel discussion this afternoon. So this is the title of my talk, that in the age of artificial intelligence, thinkers are needed. And what I want to talk about today is the fact that technology is not helping us to think. Technology might not be as smart yet as we think it is. I want to talk a little bit about the future of our children, and how do we prepare people for this technological future? Is it all about the tech, the AI, the machine learning, the smart automation, or do we still as humans play a part? And that part is the ability to think critically and to solve problems and to do the things that computers cannot do, perhaps even for the foreseeable future. I'd like to start with a little story. I typically have customer meetings around the topic of artificial intelligence or smart automation or the like. And this is how meetings typically start. I say, okay, guys, you wanted to see me. What shall we talk about? And they say, we want to use AI. The first question I ask them is, to do what? And that's when people typically start looking at each other in the room uncomfortably. And why am I starting with this little picture, this story, is the understanding of a lot of people, and especially of a lot of business owners or executives in businesses, even the so-called C-suite. The understanding of what this technology is and what it can do and how to use it is still very immature. A study from late last year showed that internationally, about 70%, that's 70, of senior executives do not understand this technology. And that results in them fearing it, pushing back against it, or using it for things that it's not made to be used for. A lot of organizations now give a so-called KPI or a target to their divisional managers and say, in the next year, you have to have 50% of your processes or your projects or whatever has to use AI. And that's when these meetings start, because they either want to use AI because they've seen all the hype, they've been to conferences, the Red, the Gartner and the Forrester reports, or it's a fear of missing out because their competitors are busy using AI. But I often just say, and I really want to bring this message over today, is stop, take a deep breath and step back. What is the business reason for wanting to use this technology? Or a better question even is, What are the business challenges that you are facing? And then only we start looking at using something like AI. AI, in most cases, is not the answer for what business leaders need. They first have to really have to put that foundation in. Do people understand their jobs? Is the culture in the organization healthy? Do people fear losing their jobs, which is a very natural human experience, especially when they start hearing things like automation and robotics, AI is coming in to take our jobs. Do you understand how your organization will look like in a year from now if you use AI? Because the fundamental design of the organization might have to change. Even more importantly, do you understand how it's going to impact your interactions with your customers? Is your data mature and in place? Are you going to use it responsibly, not just from a POPIA or a privacy point of view, but also from an ethical point of view, which I would like to touch on today. This is something that I think I'm preaching to the choir, but are computers smarter than humans? And to a large extent, they already are. Look at these little icons. What are the things we typically do as humans when we work? And I'm going to really simplify it, so just bear with me. Is we can see, we can read emails, we can see instructions, we can take information that comes our way and process it. Then we can execute those tasks, which is the little icon on the top right. We can do work based on what we've been told to do. It could be a customer query, a request for quote, an instruction from your boss, or something like that. We also have the ability, of course, to speak and understand language. Not only do we read the email, but we understand the subtle messages in there. We can sometimes see that the words being used is of somebody who's frustrated or angry. And then also we can learn. We constantly learn through our mistakes, through our experiences and the like. And often when people ask me, what is all this new technology about, to really simplify it. And my dad recently asked me, and I thought, if you're not in the industry and I can't use all the typical lingo we use, how do I explain this stuff to him? And I find this little four kind of pictures is a good way of explaining it. So let's bring it to the smart technology age. We've got computer vision. You've got something like optical character recognition, or these days we talk about smart OCR, where it's not only extracting the text on a preset document, like a quote, for instance, it's really getting smart in reading handwriting. It's getting smart in understanding documents that's all maybe quotes or invoices, but in totally different formats. So through machine learning, it can already pick up, this is typically the date, that is typically the invoice number, that is most likely the vendor number, for instance, and the like. But computers can see. We can talk about facial recognition for a long time here as well, which is a very controversial topic today still. Then, like humans, we see and then we execute. And here we can speak about smart automation. I'm sure you all have heard about robotic process automation, which is, in my opinion, already a kind of a technology of a bygone era. RPA, to a large extent, has not delivered on the promise that a lot of organizations thought it would. In certain instances, when it's repetitive, low value kind of admin tasks, it's great. But when it comes to identifying patterns, really achieving efficiency gains and effectiveness gains and a real return on investment, RPA has been struggling. So these days we speak a lot more about intelligent automation or hyper automation, depending on which white papers you read. Then as humans, we can speak and understand speech and language. Natural language processing or understanding is already very mature. You know, the so-called Turing test is already being broken, if you would. We can speak to a call center that is a conversational AI agent. And this technology is still busy maturing, but it will pick up from your, firstly, it will pick up what you're saying, irrespective of your background, because we have different accents, different ways of speaking. But it can also pick up those so-called sentiments. Are you very frustrated or not? A point to take from an African perspective. There's about 2,000 to 3,000 different languages and dialects in Africa. And most of these platforms, from a natural language understanding point of view, are American or French or Portuguese. So and there's a lot of work being done, for instance, at University of Pretoria and other places, to make sure that we have these data sets that we have to create because they don't exist, to make sure we can accommodate African speakers in as many languages as possible to utilize this kind of technology. And then lastly, as humans we learn, machines learn too. Machines learn from patterns and so forth. So these are all terms that I'm sure we're all familiar with, but is it smarter than humans? To a large extent, it already is. But there's a lot of things that we can do, which is thinking and problem solving, as I've already said. And the problem with a lot of these initiatives, in my experience, fail when we try to get the AI to do the things that only humans can do, or we try and get humans to do the things that actually the AI or the robots should do. So that, again, that comes back to that organizational design, the ways of working. As we grow the AI footprint in our business, people's the kind of jobs they do, how they do it will change. We have to plan for it. And I often say we have to take people on a journey. It must be a people first initiative. It should never be a technology first initiative. It should be led by business, and HR should play a very big role. Don't let the IT guys somewhere in the dark corner of the building drive this. We need them to help us, but it should be driven by business, and we should always think about people first. I love this guy's book. So Nicholas Carr wrote this article in The Atlantic, Is Google Making Us Stupid? And then based on the great response from that article, he wrote this about what the internet is doing to our brains. I wish I can go into the details here, but I mean, as you can imagine, we become lazy. Just think of mathematics. I'm so used to Excel or the calculator on my phone. If you ask me what is 83 minus 24, some of you are maybe a lot smarter than me, but I have to think a bit. Now, years back, before I used Excel or my phone or calculator, I could do that calculation so quickly. I've become lazy. It's been not a bad thing, because why be smart in math if the technology can do it for me? But the point that Carl is making through his work is that we are losing our ability to think. We are essentially becoming lazy because the stuff happens for us. It's automated and so forth. Now, think also of the future of our children. My son is 8. He's playing on his iPad a lot, and I try and manage that FaceTime. He also has a number of games that's teaching him critical skills and engineering skills and how to build certain buildings. So I think it's good. But imagine our children. If they, I mean, when I grew up, I was born in 74, which is a long time ago. You know, in our era, we had to learn to use our brains. Do kids really have to use their brains much anymore? And we have to think about how that's going to impact the way we train them for future jobs. I've said just now that we have to make sure that we don't get people to do what the computer should do, or the other way around. And I often speak about this, taking the robot out of the person. To a large extent, we all do, irrespective of the work you do, we have elements of repetitive work, reporting, administration, and the like. Some people, like your back office admin kind of staff, I mean, that's pretty much all they do. So, but what I'm trying to say through this slide is that we are already robots. Why do we fear the robots if we are already robots? The rote tasks, the repetitive tasks. Well, yes, there's some people who love doing that kind of work, and we obviously need them. But for a lot of us, we struggle with that. Things that's the same every day. We want to use our thinking. We want to rise above the challenge. And that's what I'm saying to customers often. And again, that comes back to the people first initiative. And the way you bring this message over. Don't just start robotics somewhere or AI. Go to the people whose jobs will be most affected by it. Win them over. Let them see how this technology can really make their jobs better, more likable, more enjoyable. A big topic here is inevitable job displacements. And again, we have to approach this on the one hand, yes, it's a business, it's about returns, it's about competitiveness. So if you can get rid of 10% of your people, there's a huge saving there. We also have to be ethical. You know, in South Africa, for instance, and I don't know the exact numbers, but every wage earner on average looks after 5 or 6 other family members or friends. So if you get rid of 1,000 people, you're going to impact, 50, 60,000 people, so many households. And then I always say to clients, because if clients start with, our business case is getting rid of people, I walk away. Firstly, it's ethically wrong. Secondly, it is stupid from a business perspective. Because are you not planning to grow? An example I often use is if you currently have 100 people, and through automation and efficiency gains and the like, you can actually have only 80 people to do the work that the 100 used to do. And then I say to a customer, but are you not planning to grow? Because in a year from now or 2, you might actually need 150 people. So the business case for using this technology is not getting rid of people. It's allowing the same amount of people, the 100 you have at the moment, through efficiencies, through the right kind of data, the right kind of BI platforms and the like, to not have to employ more people necessarily, because the current people you have are more equipped. It's just a different way think about that. Back to we need to think, and I wrote an article recently, which I'll show in my last slide, is I made a case for the fact that the so-called humanities in university or in other colleges is still very important. It's perhaps for a lot of students the most boring part of their studies, language, religion, philosophy, ethics, and the like. But I'm saying that before we jump into all this coding and robotics stuff to train our kids or university students and all that, we have to lay a foundation in the humanities. Now, I did classical Greek and Latin 100 years ago. I still use it today. Now, a lot of it I've forgotten, but I'll sometimes hear a word in English even that I don't understand, but I remember what the Greek was for it, or the Latin was for it. Greek and Latin help me to learn to think. Mathematics does the same, of course. And I'm not saying we all should now learn classical Greek and read Homer and all of that, but we have to make sure that there's a baseline of the humanities that teaches people to think, that make them think ethically and responsibly before they just jump in all the technology stuff. Now, back to our children. We've got about 5 minutes left before we maybe take some questions. A lot of schools, even now in South Africa, are talking about bringing in as part of their curriculum robotics and coding. And that is important. In fact, we've most likely taken too long to get to this point. I have done work with a number of teachers, primary and secondary school. The challenge we have is that most teachers are so unfamiliar with this kind of technology that they can teach it from a textbook kind of thing, but they can't really mentor and take these children on a journey. And most of the time, the kids are smarter than the teachers in any case. But and yes, we can teach them, especially if they're young, to build cute little robots with blocks and teach them fundamentals of basic coding to let the robot drive somewhere with a pen and draw a little square or something. But are we teaching our kids to think? Which I don't think we are. I don't think we've been doing it in any case, because for me, school and varsity was one size fits all. It doesn't accommodate your own particular way of learning best. Others I like to see, I like to mind map. I hate textbooks. I like audiobooks, for instance. So imagine you are changing the curriculum. You can use this technology to assess what will best fit a particular learner, and then change and amend the delivery of that training. Same training, but in a different way that will suit that individual learner or student. Kids are becoming lazy through Google and the like, as I've already said. You're teaching them now some coding and robotics, but we are getting more and more into a world into the future. If we think of, what are some of the biggest challenges we face? Is climate change. It's the threat of nuclear war, which we thought after the 60s was a breeze, but now we're really talking about it again. And the third one is the use of smart technology when it comes to weaponizing technology. We're really talking about brain implants and the like. So the ability to think ethically and critically and to solve problems may be supported by technology, but not truly completely relying on technology, is the case I'm trying to make. And then just back to my story. First meeting with a client, we want to use AI. Step back, what are you trying to achieve? In my last 4 years, every meeting that started with we want to use AI, I've only done one AI implementation of meetings that started like this. Most of the meetings, the true answer to the problems that these customers had, and I alluded to it early on. People don't understand their jobs. They fear their jobs. It's a horrible culture that they're working in, and so forth. People don't feel skilled or equipped to do their work. Our basic processes are broken and not in place. We don't understand our customers, for instance. There are many, many things. Not even talking about data. Data is not mature. It's not being used responsible and the like. So we want to use AI as a wonderful ambition. My experience is that it's often not the answer to the problem. Most cases, it's not the answer to the problem. And unless you put that foundation in place through thinking smartly about what we're trying to solve and through the right data and the like, don't even worry about AI. You won't get there. So we have a responsibility to our stakeholders and our customers to guide them by the hand and to guide our people by the hand as well. This is my last slide. Just quickly want to mention here my website, aiforbusiness.net. I write weekly for Business Day. I think last week or the week before, this article on the screen appeared, The Age of AI Thinkers Needed. It is available on my blog, and as you can see there, for Brainstorm, IT Web, and others as well. But yeah, connect with me there. My LinkedIn and everything is there. But I'd love to hear from you about the articles. Does it make sense? What else can I maybe write and talk about? And I think, Zinzele, with that, I'm going to stop sharing, and I think we still have a few more minutes left. But maybe there are some questions, or we can just have a discussion. It was very quick. I hope it was beneficial to people. I'd love to speak a whole day on this topic. Let's see if there are. Thank you for the comments, Nadia. Okay, Zinzele, I'll be back. Did you go for a coffee? While we're waiting for you, I just want to see any other questions. There we go. Zinzele is joining. We still have 3 or 4 or 5 minutes left. Any comments or questions that anyone would like to make, all from your side, Zinzele?
Johan, thank you so much, Johan. I think that was, quite a mouthful there and detailed. I've listened to you several times, but every time I listen to you, I always learn something new. You stated that AI is not always the answer. We should not put technology first, but people first. And I think that is a very important point, because often when we put technology first, you find that we develop these AI or ML algorithms that work in the test or training environment, but fail on the in the out of sample data or in practice. So I think that is quite a very important thing there. I think you also spoke about delegating our thinking responsibility to machines. We rely too much on these machines. I think it's very important that we become very careful, when we implementing these technologies, that we do not rely excessively, on them. Maybe my question, Johan, I think there's one question there. Maybe before I get there, what advice would you give, to someone who is worried about being left behind, when it comes to this technology? They do not know where they should begin, really, from an implementation perspective. But probably they haven't really defined a business case. But we all want to ride in the wave of AI and all these things. But at the same time, we want to be very careful. But where should someone begin? Before they embark on the AI journey?
It's a good question, Zinzele. Firstly, I always say business leaders should know the basics of this technology to make the right decisions. They should not become AI experts or machine learning engineers. But I still have customers that think RPA, or robotic process automation, and artificial intelligence is the same thing. And I'm thinking it's vastly different. Yes, there's some overlaps.
Yeah.
But I say we need artificial intelligence across all our business. How many robots do we need? And I'm thinking we're comparing apples with apples here. So business leaders should understand the basics. They also should understand the non-technical impact on their business, like I've alluded to, the impact on the organization, the culture, and the change management. But then, and maybe to the second part of the question, what are the challenges you're trying to solve? In fact, I've had client meetings where I said, can we agree, please, that for the next hour, no one may use the words AI, machine learning, edge computing, cloud, or anything like that. And none of the technical lingo. And I say, let's talk about your problems. And they really struggle because they've already made up their minds. But what are the things you should fix? The first one is always, for me, the impact that you have with your customers, better serving them, less churn, understanding them better through all the data you're harvesting. But also important is your own people, because we have a lot of data on the wellness of our people. I mean, we live in an era, working from home thing, a lot of people are struggling with mental health issues, struggling with their job because they're doing it from home or wherever. So understand what you can do to make your people thrive and try and serve your customers better. AI may or may not be the answer to those two problems.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Johan. I think let me just take a few questions here. Can you elaborate on the concept of AI as a general purpose technology? Alfred Mashishi there, the Chief Director at the Department of Communications.
Fantastic. Alfred, it's a good question. And there are so many ways to answer it. I hope I'm going to answer your question, and I'm also going to try and keep it short. But when we talk about general purpose technology, I would assume your question is from a business point of view. And can we use it in if you would, a general way? What is the general purpose of this technology? Now, technology as a whole can serve obviously a lot of the purposes in your business, but can AI be a general purpose technology? And in my opinion, at this stage, for most businesses and organizations, not, because they don't understand, as I've said, their own processes or own data is such a mess. And I'm not just speaking about smaller organizations here. Some of the big corporates that I've been dealing with, whether it's in the telco, banking, or insurance space, there are days that I think, I don't know how they open their doors every day because it's such a mess. So don't even look at AI as a general purpose technology to fix a number of business problems. Technology, but ways of working and those kind of things can also work. So we need to drink coffee on this one. I hope in that short time I answered your question, Alfred. Okay. There was one more that I'd like to get to.
Johan. Yeah, I think others are more of comments. If you take robots out of the person, will that not have a negative impact on the South African market? Therefore, the view that digitization is taking away jobs, making it a difficult subject to tackle in the context of South Africa.
Very important question. And we have to see what this technology is doing globally, but we have particular challenges in our country, of course. Huge numbers of unemployment, the so-called digital divide, where a lot of, especially young people, don't have access to proper or any internet connectivity. I often say that we are still in the second industrial revolution, never mind the fourth, because we're trying to get electricity to people's homes. And we hope this conference works out well, sincerely, with Eskom in the background for all the speakers and everyone, you know. But yeah, so look, in banking, for instance, it's very unionized. It's you know, a lot of rules and regulations. Banks in particular, because of those factors, will struggle with this, but all organizations should struggle. We should worry about what will it do with our people. Now, here's the challenge. The balance between, as I've already said, doing this ethically and taking people on the journey. But we can't discount the realities of business, because if the business doesn't grow, then no one's going to have it in a year or two from now. So it's inevitable that some people will lose their jobs. How we do that is important. But I can preach on this forever, but I think we need to move on. But that was a great question, Barbara.
Johan, sorry, I have to rush you there. I think you have exhausted your minutes that you allocated to. Thank you so much, Johan.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. We really appreciate it. We'll see you later on. Johan will be joining the panel discussion that will come towards the end of the event. So stay tuned. We'll take a minute break and we'll carry on with the next session. See you now.